My name is Elena. At 36, I built a quiet, orderly life in the Pacific Northwest, living with my husband, Mark. For 8 years, I thought we were the definition of a stable couple. I handled the books for a local logistics firm, kept our home spotless, and prided myself on being the supportive partner behind his rising career as a corporate consultant. Mark was charming, polished suits, expensive cologne, and a persuasive tongue that could sell sand in the desert. To our neighbors, we were lucky. Inside our home, however, the air was perpetually thin. Our 8th anniversary and his birthday fell on a rainy Tuesday in mid-June. I had taken the day off, splurging on a rare vintage bottle and spending hours in the kitchen preparing a celebratory meal. I dimmed the lights, set the table with care, and placed a custom cake in the fridge. By 7 p.m., I was dressed and waiting. By 9 o'clock, the silence in the apartment became deafening. At 10:35, a notification pinged on my phone, a cold, 3-line email. Big client emergency. Stayed at the office. Make it up later. That night, I didn't cry. I simply disassembled the evening, boxing up the untouched food and blowing out candles that had guttered down to wax. The shift in my chest felt permanent, like a foundation settling into a sinkhole. The next morning, there was no communication. By noon, I called his office, only to be told he had resigned 3 days prior and left no forwarding address. When I rushed home that evening, I found him in the bedroom, tossing clothes into a duffel bag. His favorite leather shoes were already missing from the rack. When I asked where he was going, he didn't even look at me. "Seattle," he said, as if mentioning a grocery store. "I have a new role." He handed me a folder. Divorce papers. His rationale was as hollow as his apology. I was too focused on work. The house wasn't up to his standard, and I wasn't the wife he needed. After he vanished, I discovered he had terminated our lease behind my back, leaving me to manage the fallout. I felt discarded, but as I stood in the empty space where his desk used to be, the grief finally curdled into clarity. I signed the papers. A week later, I received an email with a single attachment, a marriage certificate from Washington State. He had married a woman named Vanessa, the daughter of a prominent venture capitalist. The name felt familiar. I looked up her social media profile. The woman in the wedding photos was breathtaking, a sharp-jawed, elegant beauty. But as I stared at the pictures, I recognized the slight crookedness in her smile and the specific way she held her chin. It was Vanessa Thorne, a girl from my high school who had been relentlessly teased for her appearance. My best friend Sarah confirmed the rumors. Plastic surgery had transformed her entirely. Months later, Mark called me in a panic. He had a newborn daughter, but the baby looked nothing like either of them. He was spiraling, haunted by the realization that their meticulously curated lives were built on deep-seated insecurities. He demanded to know how I had remained so calm. I told him the truth. While he and Vanessa were busy editing their pasts to build a fake future, they forgot that the truth is written in the blood. Genetics and history have a way of surfacing, regardless of how much you polish the exterior. The final updates came through mutual acquaintances. Mark's second marriage was dissolving under the weight of his infidelity, and their young daughter was being cruelly bullied by classmates who had uncovered old photos of her parents' past. Today, I live in a sunlit apartment in a different city. My life is small, but it is entirely mine. I reconnected with an old friend, a kind man who values my presence over my performance. I didn't need revenge, and I didn't need to forgive. I simply needed to stop trying to maintain a facade that wasn't mine to begin with. People often think beauty or status is the ultimate shield against rejection. But Mark and Vanessa chose to live behind a mask. And eventually, the mask becomes the only thing that's left of you. My rebirth wasn't found in a new look or a new job. It was found in the moment I stopped apologizing for being real. When you build your life on illusions, you are always one gust of wind away from a collapse. When you build it on truth, you are immovable.